Hello, everyone, and welcome to Week 5 of the Storm Report. I'm Ron Lighthall alongside Terry Spain. Terry, we didn't have a good outcome last week.
No.
But neither you nor I expected that. We knew it was going to be a tough game with a potential loss.
Yeah, and you called it, though. You said that this is not going to be a walk in the park. And the Battlehawks looked really good coming in here. They had a lot of confidence, that we talked about before. Seeing them warming up and talking trash to some of the players before the game, they had a lot of confidence coming in this game.
They did. They had that certain swagger. You and I saw that in the tunnel in the pregame, and like you said, there was a little bit of banter, friendly banter back and forth. A lot of animosity between those teams. And they're battling for that sacred first place position that Orlando still holds.
Yes.
With a 4-1 record. The game went exactly like we thought it would. I mean, the Battlehawks shut out and completely dominated the first half. And it was enough to where the Storm could not recover in the second half, even though they started to get momentum and they were getting scores. They just fell short.
Yeah, I don't think the Storms thought this game was going to turn out the way it did. But the Battlehawks had their number. They're trying, like you mentioned before, they're trying to creep up into the playoffs. And I know they're like the 4th seed now, but they're really trying to get to that 1 or 2 seed to have that playoff, that playoff push. But I was a little surprised about the lack of offense that happened in this game, in particular because you were at home. I thought they were going to come out with a little bit more oomph and a little bit more excitement because they would have still been considered the undefeated team in the UFL.
Right.
But that's no longer.
And, part of that was the time of possession. The Battlehawks absolutely dominated the offense in the entire first half. But there was some glimmers of hope. The special teams were fantastic for Orlando, but it wasn't enough. They gave them, a blocked punt attempt, which put them in great position. And the way that the setup was, they punted. There was a penalty on Orlando. They elected to re-kick, and Orlando blocked the kick, and it was all the way back at the 5-yard line. Orlando scored 2 plays later. It was just an unbelievable sequence of events. The blunder being forcing the re-kick or electing for the re-kick, but Orlando came up big on that one. Unfortunately, it was a case of too little, too late for the Orlando Storm. And one of the things was that really stuck out, and you and I were harping on this late in the game, was the clock management.
Yes.
I mean, it seemed like time was just ticking away unnecessarily. And I went back and reviewed the game, and by my estimation, there were almost 4 full minutes of just wasted time and slow snaps and slow huddles that could have. They were getting somewhere there in the fourth quarter, but I'm not going to say it would be a game changer, but it's certainly the sense of urgency was not there.
Yeah, but they still had an opportunity to win the game. It was crazy because I think everybody in the press box was coaching and trying to encourage them to keep going and speed it up a little bit. And that was mentioned a little bit too in the interviews that we had with Plummer and with Coach Becht. But you could tell that they were not really used to playing from behind like that, and so it kind of caught up with them. But this was actually a teachable moment for them, and I think this is going to make this team a lot better going in the event that they have to do this again.
Yeah, Orlando is a great team when it comes to adjustments and making the key moves when it comes to that. You did have an opportunity to catch up with Coach Becht this week, so tell us a little bit about that interview, and we'll play it here in just a second.
Yeah, Coach Becht, when I interviewed him yesterday, he took full ownership as the coach. He was talking about he could have went in there and started screaming at the players and things of that nature, but he didn't think that would be the best move at that particular time because he didn't want to lose the locker room, which was smart. And it goes to show you what type of coach Coach Becht is. So he took full ownership on that, but he also said that they had a thick-skinned meeting, which is what I like because when you lose a game like that and you're used to winning and you're being undefeated, most of the times people don't know how to react in particular teams. But he was able to keep this team grounded and keep them motivated, and then I expect them to do an outstanding job coming into this next game.
Early in the season, you teased me about being buddies with Mike Repole and the rapport he and I had. I'm gonna reciprocate with Coach Becht, man. I know you spent some time with him at the Orlando Magic game, but let's play the clip here of the interview you had with Coach Becht.
First, just personnel standpoint wise, Connor Fox is going to IR, one of our tight ends. Got to have surgery on his finger. Right now, I'm not going to bring in another tight end. We're going to roll with two. We also we released Alan George, cornerback, and linebacker Deshaun White, and we signed Daquan Jackson, former played a few NFL football teams out of Jackson. He was living in Jacksonville. Brought him in. And we brought back Jason Taylor, safety from training camp, and we also brought back Chris Claybrooks, cornerback from training camp. So again, just a couple new pieces to add to the football team. As far as the game is concerned, man, I think what I pressed upon my players is whatever we did in the second half, that's us. And I think if we look at games across the league and how some teams maybe responded to the adversity of being down in the first half and coming back, we had the ball 1st and 10 on the plus 36 with a minute 29 left to potentially score and tie that football game. Extremely proud of the way we fought back, and speaks volumes. That be a turning point for our football team. Whenever those moment plays came for us to make and them to make, they made them in the first half. So, again, just vibes are great. Guys are great. KJ Hamler is great. He'll be back this week. And I can't wait to see what our response is. I think that's the biggest thing I challenge my team is, hey, how do we respond? And we're going to have a great week of practice as we go into practice tomorrow. So open up the floor to any questions you guys may have.
Terry Spain with the Storm Report. Coach, speaking about the team, how do you refocus the teams to ensure one loss does not impact the bigger picture?
Yeah, well, look, we really exemplify the positives out of that game because there's a lot of them. And we understand that, we got to make some corrections. And, that first half, with the other 8 halves that we've played in this season, that's not us, right? So we've acknowledged it. We've made the corrections. We always have some thick-skinned meetings because we hold each other accountable. That's coach, starts with me, and all the way down to the players. And, and we let the players speak about it too. And when they say it and they are aware of it as well, makes our job a lot easier. And we have great leadership in this building. So I think the way we finish the game and the way we take ownership of things makes me sleep really easy at night. And I slept really well yesterday, and I'll sleep well again tomorrow, and we'll be a much different team and better for it.
Coach, without giving away your game plan, how are you going to involve the running game? Because you have some really good running backs. How are you going to involve them? Because also the weather is supposed to be a little rainy this weekend as well.
Yeah, well, I saw a recent podcast of Le'Veon Bell talking about Adam Gase and said that we're going to throw the ball 40 times in this rainstorm that's coming up, and they got shellacked and got beat by a team that didn't win any games when he's with the Jets. So I'm probably not going to do that. I listen, we do want to be a run-first team. We're not hiding it. That game got out of whack, and just, what was nice is our average yards per rush was over 4, which was good in that game. So we'll get the touches we need. And freak fumble, the ground caused, those are all things that just change the complexion of the game. And I feel bad for Corbin because, that's a very rare thing that happened there. Where any other time, if you're touched and you fall to the ground, the ball pops out, it's a dead, right? So, look, I thought our offensive line under the circumstances played an exceptional game. When the team knows you're throwing, it's tough, right? So, yeah, we just, first down is where we need to start improving moving forward. And that's our focus this week. And, we got backs and linemen and tight ends that we should be able to get 4 yards on first down with the guys that we got. So yeah, Terry, it's not the game plan. That's who we are. And we gotta be better there, and we will.
Yeah, so you could definitely see how he took that ownership, which is good. That's the direct reflection of a great coach. So I was really impressed by what he did with that, and I think that the team and his coaches looked at that and they followed suit.
He's a true players coach. He is a dynamic person. Personally, even talking to him at any given point, he is upbeat. But he also has ownership of any of the mistakes that he makes.
Correct.
So I mean, I like that, and that's a great thing, and that's a confidence builder in the players. If they're following his instruction, and he knows, to not to lose the locker room, because that's the cancer that starts. It
Yes.
starts in the locker room, and he knows better than that. So let's talk about the performance of Jack Plummer, and he was 24 for 44 and 143 yards, but he did have that one TD. Not a great performance, but he was also off the field an awful lot.
Yeah, it wasn't a great performance. It wasn't definitely his best performance, and he talks about that as well. But it was a little disappointing because you would have thought that they would have been airing the ball out. But he made a couple incomplete passes, some errant passes as well, and he talked about that in his interview when we interviewed him. But one of the other things that kind of stifled this team is that they had to become one-dimensional because they were playing from behind.
Let's play that interview for our viewers here, because this is just really neat access that you're able to get to these players. So here's that interview.
The city of Orlando is really honing in and bringing and accepting the Orlando Storm as far as fans. How excited is that for you as a player?
Yeah, it's super exciting. Obviously, it's way better to play in a stadium that's full and people are passionate about it and supporting you than it would be just to kind of show up in a city and no one really knows you're there and no like no one cares. It's great to have the fan and the fan support and uh, obviously we're in a new franchise, so hopefully as the season goes on and we keep winning games and we can draw even bigger buzz to get people to come out and support us. I think it might have been good for us to go through some adversity, and I think we responded well in the game. Obviously, the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but I feel like just to see everyone's mindset and belief that hey, even though we are down, we can still get it done, and it might have been a good wake up call for us. Like hey, maybe you know maybe we got to look in the mirror a little bit and fix a lot of things and take more accountability for what we're doing, whether that be throughout the week or in the game, and open our eyes up a little bit just to make us play better. And I think that's kind of something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now as an offense. Is we've been winning games, but we've been leaving some meat on the bone, and so uh, hopefully that will drive us and to be better. And I feel like we still haven't scratched the surface on how good we can really be. I think we have the right makeup as a team and the right players and coaches to really, you know, play some high level football. And so I'm excited for us to get to that point, but we're still working to get there. Yeah, it's something that I'm still refining every day of, how to approach, every guy on the team, or some guys maybe you can get a little more vocal with them, and some guys maybe you gotta, really pat them on the back, just, encouraging them. So that's something I'm working on every day is figuring out how to approach guys and talk to guys in the right manner. And uh, I think as a quarterback, you gotta be a leader, and it starts by leading by example and just, you know, coming in, taking accountability, doing everything the right way, showing up on time, and really buying into what the coaches are selling. I think that's the first part. And once you got all that figured out, then you can start, bringing guys along with you. So, um, I'm not a perfect leader, but I try to be the best leader I can be. Yeah, it's one of those things where a loss like this, it does suck, but if you make it more than it is, then it's going to snowball into how you prepare for the next game or how you play for the next game. So I've always just you got a day to learn about your mistakes and come up with solutions to fix them, and then after that it's just flush it. So it's not something that I'm going to be talking about honestly after I get off this call. This game's over to me, and we're looking forward to what's next for our season, which is Birmingham. So it's always good to have something to look forward to, after, you lose a game and say, hey, we got another one. Like, let's figure out how we're going to win this game. And, uh, I'm not really scouring my contacts in my phone hitting people up on, what should I be doing? Or, I think I've played enough football to kind of figure out how to handle a loss, and honestly just leaning on the guys on the team, uh, you know, the offensive guys, other quarterbacks, talk through everything, and once it's done, and then we got to move on.
Hold on, Jack. We have one more from Chris Hayes. Chris?
Jack, back to DTR. I just wondered, how close were you and Dorian when he was in here?
Yeah, we're pretty close, and obviously you're in the same room with the guy for however 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks or something, and it was good. It was great competition that we had in camp, and we really pushed each other to be better, I think. And then during the season, he was awesome. We had a great relationship. He was very supportive of me and kind of had my back on some of the plays maybe that I wanted to run or wherever it may have been in the quarterback room. He was pounding on the table for me and basically saying like we should be doing what Jack's comfortable with, and so he was great in that aspect, and I think it really paid off for him. He was a really good teammate, and he, even when he wasn't the starter, he was pushing some of the guys in the other rooms, holding them accountable and making sure that they were on their P's and Q's, and I think it really helped him honestly because Coach Becht had a lot of respect for him, and he really wanted him to get an opportunity to play because I do think DTR is one of the best, 8 quarterbacks in the league and deserves to be a guy who's a starter.
Yeah, and you can see what type of quarterback he is and what type of leader he is. He took ownership on it, and he started from himself with the I statement, saying, "I need to do better," and that's what you're looking for as a coach. But that's what you're looking for as fans, and you don't have to play the blame game on who did what and why did we lose.
We're going to talk about some of the other offensive stats, but let's talk about a weird dynamic coming in this week. And he's going to be seeing somebody he spent a lot of time in the preseason.
Yes.
Took a lot of snaps. I mean, they were very close, but he's going to see that on the other side of the ball this coming week. So let's talk about that relationship and that dynamic that he's going to be facing.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to interview him, and that question came up by one of the other reporters. And he did an outstanding job as telling everyone, like, hey, there's really no animosity between us. We're actually really good friends. And he said he wanted them to have a good season, but not have a good game on this game that's coming up.
Yeah, I felt the same way with the Louisville Kings immediately after, and I'm going to say escaping that win there in Louisville and coming home. I wished nothing best for the Louisville Kings fans, and I said, this is your time. I mean, I would love to see them tear through their schedule, and since then they've gone, 2-0, and they've had some very, very decisive victories, including this past weekend. And Heather Jeffcoat, their communication director, the excitement level that they're building there in Louisville is fun too. And I bring that up because of the fact that Orlando may see Louisville. There is a chance that we could see them in the playoffs because nothing is set in stone yet, and Louisville is going in the right direction. But the other thing you want to see is one of those teams that has a great fan base as an upstart expansion team. Louisville's locked in as far as their fan base. They're a fantastic fan base. So, like I said, I'd like to see them continue to win and move forward. But Birmingham's gone the other way. I mean, they won on the outset, and everybody was like, "Oh, Birmingham a pass. Here's your repeat winners," and they've slid with 4 straight losses, and they're coming in at 1-4 now into Orlando.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of moving parts with the Stallion as well, and that's that continuity that we talked about before. You can't just plug and play because these are professional players that you're playing against, and they're realizing that. I know they have a good quarterback now in DTR, but that he still has to learn the players. He has to learn the plays. He has to learn the team, and I expect Orlando to capitalize on that because they've been the consistent as it relates to the quarterback and a lot of the players because we're getting some good players back too this week as well.
Orlando faced Birmingham 2 weeks ago in Birmingham and blanked them. The first and only to this date blanking of any team in the UFL.
Yes.
It is a high scoring, and the rules are certainly conducive to scoring in one way or another. So to blank somebody, you deliver that goose egg, that's bitter. And I think Birmingham's going to come in here. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They do not want a goose egg again, and I think they're going to come in very strong. But I think Orlando is locked in. They beat them decisively. So
Yes.
somewhere along the line in their film room, they have figured out those elements, much like the Battlehawks did with Orlando. It seemed like it's almost as if the Battlehawks had a copy of the playbook. I mean, they were so locked in and they knew exactly what Orlando was going to do.
Speaking of copy of the playbook, I wonder how much that DTR is going to know that playbook for the Storm. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, because he did have access to the playbook and he understands the plays and things of that nature. So I wonder how Coach Beck is going to handle this game. But I predict that they want to establish themselves, because they're a running team. And they want to establish themselves because they have really good running backs, so they're going to have to utilize those running backs. They were almost at 4 yards a carry last week, but that's not good enough. They're going to have to run the ball.
Absolutely not. On the game notes here, the rushing per game right now, Orlando sits at 106 yards per game against Birmingham 68.8. So on that ground game, Orlando holds a decisive advantage. One of the things last week, though, was the problem was the front line just couldn't get anything open. The pressure coming in from the Battlehawks, they were just closing holes, and there was not a lot to be done on the ground last week.
Yeah, and Coach Beck, he addressed that in his interview. I expect to see some changes up front, because it's going to need to happen, because you have to protect your quarterback. He is your one constant that's really been spot on. He was the number 2 passer in the UFL. So he likes to throw the ball, but they also like to run the ball. But that line is going to have to hold up in order for the Storm to win this game, because it's supposed to be a little rainy as well. I mentioned that to the coach. It's supposed to be a little rainy, so you obviously want to run the ball also.
Yeah, you want to keep that on the ground, because you have to establish that run game. But it's been almost like a one-trick pony with Jay Sean Corbin in the backfield. I mean, he is their primary carrier. They need to open that up and maybe spread out the offense, because going up the middle just did nothing last week. Let's talk a little bit about the advantages Orlando's going in with the Birmingham. One, they're only 2 weeks removed from playing them already, so we're going into the kind of rinse and repeat mode, with a new quarterback, but a quarterback they're extremely familiar with.
Correct.
But the Orlando's going to come in with the stronger defense, especially against the run. If they can establish their own run game offensively, they can shut down the run game defensively.
Yeah, if Orlando average, I predict that if they are able to at least run the ball and get 120 yards, they're going to win this game, because they like to waste the clock. It's a running clock, and that's something that a lot of people are not accustomed to, but it's a running clock for the most part. And if you're able to score fast and just run the clock down and utilize your running backs, this game will be run decisively like it was before when it was 16-0.
And the other thing here on our matchup analysis was one of the things is Orlando does need a little more consistent quarterback play. Plummer owns it. You saw in that interview that, this is, he makes this about him. He knows he needs to improve and take that leadership role back. He has got so much talent to throw to if they get open. I mean, Badger, Hamler, these guys are just going to have big games if they can stay healthy. I mean, these guys have got to stay healthy. We've got to see CJ back on the field.
Well, he's going to be back this week, and I know that he's going to be the quarterback's definitely going to be excited to have him back, because he mentioned that as well. But he's going to get some of his players back that were out for a while, and I'm excited to see how they're going to throw this ball up and down the field, because, like I said, the weather's going to be crazy, but it should not hinder them from throwing the ball, because they absolutely love this field. That was one of the things that was mentioned in the interview by Coach Beck, is that how great the field is. And so they're going to get they're kind of spoiled being in a field like that. So,
the turf is fantastic.
Kudos to them, because that turf team has to keep that turf looking spectacular. Absolutely. Because they have soccer games and things of that nature. So good job on the turf squad, because they did an amazing job keeping that field up to par.
Before the game, at halftime, and after the game, you and I are physically on the field.
Of course.
And you can see it up close that turf is incredibly well maintained. And the other thing is you're not seeing the turf getting torn up. I mean, the healthy root system that they have going on is fantastic. The bad side is you don't want to play in the rain because, of course, that loosens everything up. But as far as the turf goes, you're dead on. I mean, that turf is immaculate, and that's what they call speed turf.
Yes,
that is a fast turf. It is a very very low cut grass, and it's a player friendly grass. As far as like injuries and things like that, we're not going to see a lot of that because their cleats aren't getting stuck in the grass. But at the same time, it's the way it's cut is it's a very fast open field. And when I say open, the sidelines have good sight lines. There's not a lot going on visually when you're on that field.
That's correct.
But let's talk a little bit about the passing game. Orlando and Birmingham are virtually deadlocked by half a yard. I mean, it's 200.5 to 201 in the passing yards per game. So I mean, they're dead on in the passing game. That includes the quarterback rotation. That's Matt Corral's numbers and DTR's numbers. Thus far. Now Corral sits on our bench, and you talk about that little kind of like wink and a nod on knowing the playbook. Orlando has that reciprocal person sitting on the bench. Yeah, you talk about the 2-for-1, man. Amani Bledsoe. I mean, he's with the team all of 4 real days.
Yes.
I mean, by the time you take in 4 real practices and a walkthrough, and he comes up really big. One of the first drives, he comes up with an interception. So it was like,
that was special.
Welcome to O-Town.
Yeah. You're gonna be around here for a while. Son.
Yeah, let's his name on his locker is not in dry erase at this point. It is permanently on there. But Birmingham's advantages are, they have explosive receivers capable of the big plays. So we're really going to rely on our backfield defense. We're going to have to drop back those guys and maybe learn a thing or two, because I tell you, the Battlehawks did such a great job, and this is their MO, is their defense keeps the plays in front of them, and that's a cue that Orlando could really take, is you don't let anybody, get into your backyard.
Don't get beat deep.
Don't get beat deep. You got to keep them in front of you, and the Birmingham defense was stifling, so hopefully Orlando was like, hey, let's implement that a little bit. And the other one is the desperation factor. Birmingham is coming in with nothing to lose. I mean, they're statistically eliminated right now from the playoffs. I mean, the chances of getting in are extremely slim. Considering
there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance. But they're coming in with a desperation, and there's nothing worse than a cornered rabid animal. And that's the mentality they're coming in with.
Yeah, so that's why the Storm has to establish their identity early, running the ball, being a couple screen plays, but the defense is definitely going to have to show up even more. One of the unique things about the Storm is that they played some really good receivers last week in the Battlehawk. Butler, I don't know if any of you all have not seen this young man, but he reminds me of like Terrell Owens. He has that Terrell Owens body. He's tall, lanky, he's cut, and they couldn't do anything with him. So that actually is going to help the Storm this week, because the Stallions do have some good wide receivers, so they should be able to learn from that. But the Battlehawks wide receiver group is stellar. They're really good.
Let's talk about some big news from the Storm Report. We have a very special giveaway this week.
Yes.
We were given 100 tickets.
Say that again. I couldn't hear.
100 tickets to give away for this weekend's game, and we're starting immediately. You got to reach out to us. I don't think anybody will be denied at this point. Right. The Orlando Storm came to us and said, hey, we love what you're doing, and that made you and I feel so good. I mean, they have tabbed you to do special interviews pregame. You did a great one with Jay Sean Corbin, but the access that you're getting. So I'm honored to work with somebody of your caliber. But what we're putting together here is very special. The fact that Junkless reached out, we're going to have fan packs with that. Talked to Brandon. Brandon said, hey, I'm in on these fan packs. Let's get people in the seats in Orlando. And the Storm said, hey, we're going to give you 100 tickets to give out to your people in the Space Coast. let's get them over there. Let's show them the product. Let's get them introduced to Storm football, because I think nobody leaves with a negative vibe after the game. Everybody that's at their first time out there, all the negativity is people that don't go. All the negativity is from the people who aren't participating. They're not going to the games. They're not experiencing the atmosphere. And the more people you put in there, this is a good product. This is a fun product. Everybody wants to put the bar at the NFL, but these guys have NFL experience, and they're talking about close to 140 players going into the NFL. After the draft is all done, and guys that are going to come out of the NFL and play for the UFL, and it's kind of like that. I don't want to say minor leagues. I want to say almost like a
give or take.
Like a rehabilitation league.
Yeah.
Hey, you're almost there. Let's hone your skills against great competition, and then you get the call back, and it is happening, and it's happening frequently here with the UFL. But, we have 100 tickets to give away, and we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Robin Fisher, first and foremost, our first sponsor out of the gate. Yeah. We thank him so much for what he has done for us. Toyota of Melbourne, we are doing all of our On the Road, sponsored by Toyota of Melbourne, on the road next week.
Yeah, we're on the road.
And we want to thank Zoa Energy Drink. Brandon and all his guys have really hooked us up. We want to thank Junkless. We don't have a name to go with Junkless. Literally, the email is signed by the Junkless.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a contact.
Well, we thank them anyway.
Yeah, at this point, I'm beginning to believe that Junkless is now just a person. Just everything's signed Junkless. But we want to thank all of them for what they have done for us, and what we're going to do for you, the fans. So just reach out to us. Leave us a note. All we need is an email. Send us, if you don't want to share your email in the comments section, send us a quick reply, and we'll get you linked a little bit more privately, and we'll get those tickets out to you. We're going to have those tickets for distribution on Friday. We're going to be giving them away at Toyota of Melbourne. We're going to be working with them there. Brevard Sports Network. It's already
State Farm.
We've got so many ways to get these tickets into the Space Coast hands, from the north all the way at Titusville, all the way to the south in Palm Bay. And Alan Zlotowski was my first call at BSN and said, hey, they're a big part of what we're doing, and we can't thank them enough. Getting us out there on Brevard Sports Network. So we have tons and tons of tickets to give away. So there'd be nothing better than to have a whole section of just the Space Coast fans.
Yeah, this is a huge win, and for those that say, well, we can't afford the tickets, there's no excuses. You can come on out. We have tickets. Just go ahead and email us and hit us up like Ron mentioned before. I'm excited about this. This is huge. This is the UFL saying we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we want you all to come out and support this team.
Yep, and I'll tell you, there is no excuse. You talk about the cost of the tickets. Junkless has got a great page set up. It is junklessfoods.com/pages/UFL. You go on that page. Every team is represented. You get those tickets at half off on that page. It's just a great experience out there. The field looks great, like you said, in the fan experience, and the more people we can get out there to really, get back and talk about the product, because I don't think anybody's a one and done with this league.
Yeah, and we had a few celebrities come out to this game, the last game too. So that was actually good to see, because they're buying in too, and they're excited about what we have here in the Orlando, Central Florida area.
Yeah, and I tell you, in the atmosphere, you can win prizes. There's giveaways. The shirts. I think the home game is Hat Day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's Hat Day this
I think they're giving away hats. Don't hold me to that. But T-shirts, bags,
coins,
the collectible coins. So it's just a great experience, and they have done such a great job out there. I mean, from the top down. And Mike Repole, was on Pat McAfee on ESPN, and talking about the expansion. Talking about expansion. Maybe there's going to be some movement. Maybe some teams, but there are teams out there that are begging to get teams, and then there's other teams that just aren't getting the support we hope they would. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we can only grow from there. It's like they make a mistake, they recover quickly. And the league is growing by leaps and bounds just absolutely every week.
Yeah, I'm excited about this league. And like I said, I've been a part of this league when it was the XFL, and I was a part of this league when they merged, and now it's the UFL. Everything that they're doing, the ownership that are a part of this UFL, absolutely amazing, and I'm excited for what's to come for the UFL and the United Bowl, which was announced, and they're going to be in Washington D.C. for that.
Yeah, this weekend, Sunday, 4 p.m. at Entering Coast Stadium, the Orlando Storm are hosting the Birmingham Stallions this is their second time they'll see each other. But we are really looking forward to these games. I mean, each one of these games is more focused. Orlando could potentially lock it in this weekend. A win this weekend, they're absolutely locked into the playoffs. Then they're going to be playing for seeding, obviously, and then bragging rights. But as an upstart team, they're clearly the front runner of all the three expansion teams. Again, we want to thank Anthony Becht. Took time out for those interviews.
Yeah.
Jack Plummer took time out for those interviews. We're working on some interviews. I actually became friends with the tight end, Stelios, his parents.
Yes.
We just kind of struck up a conversation, and parent to parent kind of vibe, and it's been fun to be a part of that. That you see the different aspect of the players, but these players have families, they have wives, they have kids, they have parents that are out there supporting them as well. So that's been a lot of fun. Terry, I'm going to give you the last closing as I always do, and I want you to let everybody know what your take is on this weekend, and then I'll give you my prediction immediately after.
All right. Storm fans, this is your time to bring your energy and support this team. We're 4-1. If we win this game next, we have an opportunity to be in the playoffs. So come on out, bring your voices, bring your excitement, and check out those free tickets that we have. Back to you, Ron.
All right, Terry, I got to tell you, my prediction is I don't think Orlando's going to blank Birmingham. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Orlando will win. I don't know how big. I'm looking at probably 24-14.
I was thinking 24-17.
You think it's gonna be a little closer?
Yeah,
I would definitely agree with that. And Orlando's just so explosive. So it could go either way. But either way, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to having people out there. And we're going to be giving those tickets away. I mean, let it rain, right?
Yeah, it's got to go out of our hands real fast.
So again, hit us in the comments. If you let us know, you got a group of 4, let us know. I think we can make that accommodation
Most
for
definitely.
you. Let's get these tickets in your hands, because we want people out there. We want you to be loud. We want you to be obnoxious. We want you to be, those fans that really say, hey, the Space Coast is all about the Orlando Storm. So I'm Ron Lighthall alongside Terry Spain. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week when we evaluate this game.